Anna, if you're there, can you turn your video on, please? She's been here all morning, Judge, so I think she...
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm here. Let me turn my video on. Sorry.
Patty, you have the papers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Gravatt, would you please raise your right hand?
Right here.
Did I lose her or what? I don't see.
She's
There
there,
you are.
Judge.
Yes.
Right.
In this proceeding, do you solemnly swear that the information and responses you submit will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may put your hand down. Ms. Gravatt, before we proceed, I need to, on the record, discuss several rights and constitutional protections that you have. First right is the right to remain silent. That means that you do not have to make any kind of statement. You don't have to answer questions. You don't have to submit written paperwork with your signature, especially papers that admit or confess to wrongdoing. You understand you have the right to remain silent.
Yes.
You have the right to a jury trial. That means you and your attorney and the state's attorneys would select from a random pool of people, a jury panel, 6 people who would hear the evidence and decide whether you're guilty or not guilty. That's the right to a jury trial. Do you understand you have that?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have the right to confront witnesses. That's a long-winded way of saying you have the right to question, cross-examine, or challenge any witness who would testify. You understand you have that right?
Yes.
You have the right to appeal these proceedings. That right is essentially the right that you can exercise alone, or your attorney can exercise alone, or the two of you could exercise that right to demand that a higher court review the official record that's being prepared by our court reporter, Ms. Rivera. You could demand that a higher court review that record, the evidence, and the results of this proceeding. You'd have to follow the requirements of the right paperwork and the time limits involved. But that is basically what is called a right of appeal. Do you understand you have that right?
Yes.
You also have a right to have this in a public open courtroom. Because of the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, the emergency, we are not doing public courtroom hearings. You and the state individually have the right to demand an open public courtroom hearing. This is actually being done by video conference, and it is because of your consent and that of the state only. You understand you have the right to demand that public hearing.
Yes.
It's being broadcast on YouTube. It is public, but it does not comply with the open public courtroom. Now, those 5 major rights and constitutional protections, if you proceed to enter a plea, you give up those rights. Do you understand you're doing that?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Gravatt, in this proceeding, we're going to show you paperwork, documents in writing that you and your attorney have reviewed and signed. Did you review and sign the paperwork involved in this case?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Did you understand the papers that you signed?
Yes, I did.
And did you ask any questions of your attorney?
I did speak with him about some stuff, but we figured it out and worked it out, and we came to an agreement on everything.
Very good. Now, I will show you the papers and briefly discuss them with you, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
You were charged originally with driving while intoxicated. That is in case number 648784. The papers that I'm going to show you are all going to have what I call identifying information. With one exception, they'll all show the case number 648784. It'll say the state of Texas versus Anna Jewel Gravatt in County Court of Law number 5, Bexar County, Texas. Now, Below that identifying information will be the title of the particular document. This one, and all of them, by the way, will be in bold print, capital letters. This one says States Consent to Video Conference. You'll notice that it is signed by Ms. Morgan, the Assistant District Attorney. Did you see and understand this document?
Yes.
They're agreeing to a video conference instead of the open public courtroom. All right,
I understand.
now the second document that you'll see, again, identifying information. This is titled Discovery Acknowledgement. There's a particular law. It says it right there in front of you, Article 39.14 of the Code of Criminal Procedure of Texas. That law requires the state to provide access and to you and your attorney of all the materials and evidence and documents, receipts, videos, whatever they have, so that you can make an informed and intelligent decision. This is this document. Did you review it with your attorney?
Yes.
You notice it's signed by the state's attorney and by your attorney. They're saying in writing that that law has been obeyed, okay?
Okay.
Now, this document, this time is your consent. It is in writing. The document says that you agree to the video conference instead of demanding an open public courtroom. This one is signed by you and your attorney. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. This next document is, again, identifying information. This one is titled Defendant's Waiver of Constitutional Rights in Court's Admonitions. This one it starts off with 3 important decisions. It says that you're charged with driving while intoxicated. The third sentence says that you hereby enter a plea of nolo contendere to obstruction of a highway. That means that this charge of DWI has been lowered for you.
Okay.
The rest of this document is divided substantially into 15 different parts or divisions, and each one is numbered. The very first one talks about the punishment you can receive. It's called the range of punishment for the obstruction of a highway. This is a Class B. You notice there's a check mark. Out of all the little boxes, there's a check mark that says Class B. It tells you what is the punishment for that, ma'am. Can you read it?
It says $0 to $2,000 fine and 0 to 180 days in jail.
That's correct. You understand that?
I do understand.
All right. Number 2 talks about, guess what? Your particular rights again, the right to a jury trial, cross-examine witnesses, and the right to remain silent. So these rights will be spread out through all these papers. They'll be repeated because of their importance. It says in there at the very end, I freely and voluntarily waive, parentheses, give up, close parentheses, those rights. Do you understand that's what you're doing?
Yes.
Have you ever had any mental health problems?
No.
Okay. Number 4 talks about the plea of nolo contendere. Did you read and understand what it says?
You said number 4?
Yes.
If I am entering a plea of guilty to the charges in this case, it is because I am guilty and for no other reason. If my plea is, I'm sorry, one second. Let me move the screen over. If my plea is one of non-contender, it is because I have considered all aspects of my legal situation, discussed them with my attorney, and determined that the entry of such a plea is in my best interest, my own best interest.
And is that true?
It is true.
All right. I will remind you that a nolo contendere plea in this court is taken as a guilty plea and is sufficient for me to convict you just by itself. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you ever been in any way involved with the sex offender registration program, ma'am?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Where were you born?
Austin, Texas.
Very good. The paperwork will show that you are a U.S. citizen. The rest of these numbered parts, you did read them and understand them with your attorney.
I did.
And you have signed them, and so has your attorney, and so has the district attorney. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. This document shown before you starts off again with the identifying information. It is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. There are a vertical stack of little boxes, and each one talks about the right of appeal in a different way. The fifth one I will check off. That's the one you're seeing at the top of the screen in this hearing. I am saying to you, I am certifying that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand?
Yes.
Pardon me?
Yes, Your Honor. Sorry.
Okay. And you signed that document, and so did Mr. Christian. Is that correct?
Yes.
This document here is an application for deferred adjudication. This is very important because Mr. Christian not only got the case lowered as far as the charge, but he also got you deferred adjudication. Deferred adjudication is a written legal binding agreement that you're entering with this court. And the bottom line is that by accepting deferred adjudication, you're making an agreement that, first of all, this court will not convict you of the charge if you live up to 100% of the conditions of supervision.
Yes, Your
Is that clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you fail or refuse to live up to 100% of the conditions, then the state can ask me to give you official notice, bring you in for a hearing. In that hearing, the result can be that you, in fact, get a final conviction. And if that happens, then you're looking at the full range of punishment. It's not restricted to whatever agreements you had up till now. If you get convicted, you can have a fine from $0 to $4,000, in jail from 0 days to 180 days. You understand that?
I understand.
The conditions of supervision are going to be read to you by the probation people. You will sign them and you'll have a copy in your hands. Is that clear?
Yes.
All right, now I'm going to need for you, if this document has not been filled out, I'm going to need for you to come into the court and sign these papers and fill them out. You understand?
Yes.
All right, who is your employer? Who do you work for?
I work with Chipotle.
Okay, and what is your income there?
I make $11 an hour there right now.
Okay, do you get overtime?
No.
All right, I'll need for you to provide the information on 3 references.
Okay.
That will always know your whereabouts.
Sure. No problem.
Okay. Did you ever serve in the military?
No,
And do you have a vehicle?
I do.
And what is that, ma'am?
It is a Subaru Legacy 2013.
All right. I'll need you to fill out that information.
Okay.
Now, are you married or single?
I'm single.
Do you have any children?
No.
Okay. Now, the next document we'll show you, we'll wrap this up, is called a plea agreement.
Okay.
You notice the first 2 boxes are filled out. And by the way, there's a little bit difference in the document here. The identifying information does not mention County Court 5, but the official record does. So we're noting that you've been informed of your rights, that you are a U.S. citizen. Then there's 5 vertical boxes, a stack of vertical boxes, and they all talk about acknowledgements, things that you are saying, yes, you know and understand this is going on regarding your rights. You understand that? Did you see and understand that?
I do.
All right. The state has a motion. Ms. Morgan.
Yes, Your Honor. The state moves to amend the information to add an obstruction, and the state moves to waive and abandon count 1 and moves to proceed on count 2 obstruction.
Defense, any objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
And do you waive the 10-day notice on amendment?
Yes, sir, we do.
All right. There being no objection by defense, by the way, we need to mark that, Patty. The motion is granted. So officially, ma'am, you're charged with obstruction of a passageway, highway, or waterway. to that charge, how do you plead, ma'am?
Non-contest, no contest.
Okay, it's technically called nolo contendere, but it is correct, it's no contest. I order you to come into the court, court 5 offices and provide or have your thumbprint placed on the documents in accordance with the law.
Okay,
Although I find there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty, I do not find you guilty. I honor the agreement that's been made by you and the state. You're granted 1 year deferred adjudication.
thank you, Your Honor.
You are fined $500. Of that 500, if you live up to 100% of the conditions, then you'll only have to pay 250, not the full 500.
Yes, Your Honor.
If you foul up, you'll not only be looking at 500, you'll be looking at 0 to 2,000, right?
Right.
All right, you will complete 35 hours of community service restitution. In addition, you will, in good faith, enroll in and complete the DWI education program, a TAP evaluation, and you will follow the recommendations. You will have for 6 months the ignition interlock monitoring device placed on your vehicle. Now, during the entire period of the deferred adjudication, you cannot have any alcohol, not 1 drop. Is that understood?
Understood.
All right. Now, your supervisory fee monthly will be $29 a month.
You said $29?
Yes. It can go all the way to 60, but we'll make it 29. Any questions, Ms. Gravett?
I don't think so, no. You said I just need to show up in court and within 7 days?
Yes,
And
ma'am. Now,
sign some forms?
the court offices are a hallway behind the courtroom, County Court 5, okay?
Okay, all
All
right.
right.
Thank
So
you very
you
much.
no further questions?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Christian, questions?
Nothing further, Judge. Thank you for following.
Ms. Caitlin Morgan, questions?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor.
All right. Then that concludes